good evening. You're watching TDM Talk Show. Our guest for tonight is definitely an interesting man. He's a face reading and facial diagnostic expert. He left his high-powered job 15 years ago to embark on a completely different journey. So let's welcome international face reader Eric Standop. Good evening.
Thank you.
Good evening. So first of all, we need to define face reading. What is it all about? Because not all people know what this is.
Yeah, and there are still rumors about it. What is face reading? First of all, face reading is something that everybody does. Everybody is a face reader. We look into faces to get more information than words can tell us. And being a face reader means you can do that for a different reason. You can read a face for health reason, or for, well, in China, fortune reason, but also for detecting lies or trying to find out the personality, the strengths, the talents of someone, but also to have a clue about love and relationship. There's a lot what you can do with the face because your face is connected with your whole system, especially with your brain.
Is it an art or a science?
I think it's both.
It's both.
Because it's 3,000 years old, minimum, maybe older, and it must have started as an art. It couldn't have started as a science. But it's getting more and more into being a scientific tool. When you look on face recognition nowadays, more and more universities take care of it, and more government use face recognition for their tools. So there is a scientific part of it, yes.
So why did you become a face reader? What happened?
That is a good question because I was always interested in numbers and Excel sheets and stock market.
Wow.
So out of the blue becoming a face reader, right? So my life experience was that I had 2 burnouts. When I was an executive in the entertainment business, I worked for cinema theaters, theme parks, computer gaming. I had 2 burnouts, and the second burnout made me think about my health. And while I was traveling, trying to be more healthy,
Feeding the soul.
Exactly. I had this experience with a face reader in South Africa. And he read my face, and I was shocked because I underrate this guy very much because he looked poor. And he didn't look like a wise man, but he told me all about my health that doctors told me also. And I thought, how does it work? I have no idea. So I'm very curious. So I wanted to know. And
what did he first say?
First of all, well, the first thing he said was a little bit poor because he spoke about my personality, and I was like, oh yeah, wow, that's
an executive guy.
So, yeah, so exactly, he said, oh, you're competitive, and you are very demanding, and I was like, oh wow, I don't need a face reader for that because this is what you would expect from a guy who's an executive. But then he started talking about my health, and the first thing he said is like, oh, you have skin issues. And in my head, those days was like, well, who not? Everybody has skin issues, which is not true, but those days I thought. But then he summed up a few things that he could not know, like intestine issues or asthma. Or he said, you have connective tissue issues. And I looked at me and I said, connective tissue issues, are you making fun?
How can you tell?
Yeah, exactly. So he said, well, guys like you with that weight and that body, they have connective tissue issues when it comes to hernias.
Wow.
And he was right. I had 2 surgeries when I was a kid.
Okay.
So that made me wonder, how does it work? And I thought, maybe I can make it a tool, go back in my old business, and then use that, you know, if I have conversations with another party, with another company, or with my employees, I know a lot more about them that they want to tell me. And so I thought, going back to Europe, I will find someone to teach me that, and then I will use it as a tool.
In your business?
In my business.
You didn't think that it's going to be like your full-time, career?
Never. I have to be honest. Nowadays, thinking back, I thought I wanted to use it to manipulate as well. Just to know more about the other person and then use it as a winning tool. Being strategic, being, one step ahead of someone else.
But what was your primary goal? When you went back to Europe, what was your goal?
First of all, to fulfill my need of curiosity. I was so curious, I wanted to know how that works. I had no idea why it works, and I wanted to know how. And then later on met someone to teach me. Even in the first half a year, I was all about, okay, if I know this, I can use it here. If I know that, I will use it here. But after, let's say, half a year, I remember that one morning I was standing in front of the mirror. And I looked in the mirror and I thought, oh my God, this sign means this, that sign means that. So I had a kind of a...
What do you mean by signs?
Well,
like the lines in your
Yeah,
face?
I saw two signs in my face that are related to personality. And by looking at those lines, you mean wrinkles?
The wrinkles.
Yeah, okay, yeah. One was a wrinkle, the other one was more or less a dot on my nose tip.
A dot.
A dot on my nose tip.
Wow, okay.
And, you know, and when you know that the nose tip is connected via the nerve system with your stomach, and that's why people have changes on the nose tip when they stimulate their stomach in a different kind of way.
That's right.
Think about alcoholics.
That's
They
right.
very often change the nose tip. It's getting flashy, it's getting reddish, it deep pores. So I looked on my nose tip and I saw this red dot and I knew something about my stomach. And then I looked on the line in my face and I think the most dominant one might be this.
Right, that's
And
right.
I had like ideas about it and I'm like, oh dear, I don't want to be an executive anymore. I want to do that. I want to read faces. And I had no idea how to start a business. But I knew I want to read faces and get in contact with people and get to know more about them. And by doing this, know more about myself.
And it was pretty tough 15 years ago.
It was 15 years ago, opening the office 13 years ago in Germany.
I can imagine.
It was kind of funny. It's like selling fridge on North Pole because you try to sell something that nobody needs or seems to need. And yeah, I had to close the office after a year.
Because what happened?
Well,
Because
because
of
I had-
skepticism of people and...
Yeah, I had 3 clients and one didn't pay, so I had 2 clients.
okay.
So this is the most of the reason why it happened. And I was about to give up, and I was a little bit frustrated because, you know, you learn something really great,
Yeah.
and you're obsessed, and you're happy, and you want to spread to the world, and nobody's interested. And then I left. I went to South America to have an experience like, okay, I want to know what am I going to do with my life now? Because it's not face reading, and I don't want to go back to my business. I traveled South America to have a new vision. And the vision was an old vision because in Colombia, I more or less met a new face reader, a face reading master. And
We're in Colombia, Medellin.
in Cartagena.
Oh.
And this experience was different because he didn't teach me about personality reading and health reading. He taught me about love and relationship reading. Because this is
I'm
what...
pretty sure that a lot of our viewers are very interested.
And then, for me, from that moment on, it was clear, I want to learn more about this from more cultures, because every culture has a face reading culture.
Right.
And possibly the Chinese one is the most well-known one, let's say this, because in China they valued this kind of art and technique longer than any other on the planet. But you find it everywhere. Everywhere in this world you have a face reading culture, and it's always a little bit different, but not totally.
So you also traveled, like I saw some videos of you in Koh Samui, and you were in China, and you were in Hong Kong. What did you do at those times? Like, were you working in hotels? Were you just like having your vacation, trying to find, you know, different answers to different questions?
It all started with working for hotels and retreats. So in the spa, as a visiting practitioner, you had the possibility where people are laid back, they want to know more about themselves, especially in a health retreat. And so you have the chance to introduce that tool to the people, and you give them advice. Because the original idea of a face reader is to be a counselor. So you counsel people. It's not like you tell them you're not a judge, you're not from the high court. You're a counselor, you assist, you help. And this is what I did in the first 2-3 years. And by doing this, I got involved into people who own companies. And then they used me to hire people because they wanted to know what kind of guy is that. And then I got involved with organizations, and they used me for different reasons. I got in contact with investigators, law enforcement.
I'm very interested in that. So how come that you did not continue working for that, in that specific field, like in investigation?
Because my first idea of face reading was not to detect lies. It was a nice tool to have, to see that. But in my head was like more, I wanted to help people, more in their talents, in their potential. What is their life purpose? What else can they do? They have a serious issue in their relationship, I can help. They have an issue in terms of health, I can help. Not to detect all the lies. But it turned out that law enforcement found out, hey, we need this guy because he might be very helpful in an interview. And yeah, I learned that as well. And with the help of the TV series, Lie to Me, exactly.
Lie to Me. It's a US TV series.
More people were aware of that face readers can do that. And yeah, that was more or less the start in this kind of area.
And can you cite some of your clients, like the high-powered clients? You mentioned some people from the Silicon Valley.
Yeah, well, about most I'm not allowed to speak. But,
okay.
But it is very obvious that high tech is interested in face recognition. And this knowledge about face recognition must come from somewhere. And the knowledge of face recognition is definitely an old knowledge, right? It's first part of our brain in our hypothalamus. We have this part that is able to recognize faces and get more information. And we use that nowadays for different tools. So my clients in the US on the West Coast are more from the high tech, right? From the Palo Alto area.
Right.
And on the East Coast, it's more finance in New York.
New York.
So it depends really on where I am. People are of different kind.
So if you're in Germany, do you usually get calls from the States? Or from China?
Yeah,
like most of your clients are what? Asians or Americans?
If you would have asked me
billionaires from Forbes?
If you would have asked me 5 years ago, I would have said 70% are Asians, 20% Americans, and 10% Europeans.
But now?
Now it's more like 50% Americans, 40% Asians, 10% Europeans. Yes, in the US, it's more about billionaires, millionaires.
Was it hard to infiltrate that niche market? And how? What was like the defining moment that you started getting phone calls from these people?
Oh, yeah. Well, if you look...
I think this is very interesting.
If you look on the length of how long it took to get into that, it was hard. But once you have the opportunity, it's no longer hard. Because those people are very clever. They're not only clever, they're intelligent. And they want to know, why is it working? And what can we do with that tool? So they are very progressive, taking advantage of anything, of any opportunity. So once you have the possibility, the opportunity to offer that to people who are like that, they take the chance. And you get your chance. And well, if you fail, you're out, that's for sure. But it's rarely you fail with face reading. You know, there is no tool on the planet that offers 100%. But face reading can offer you a lot more. For example, for lie detecting, a human is good in lie detecting. I would say they reach 55%, especially when you know that person. Like
from the body language, you know?
Well, the body language, and this is what I tell the people, is overrated. Because body language, I teach...
You can study that.
Exactly, and I teach...
You can manipulate that too.
I even teach politicians in body language. So I find it quite funny that we look on how they shake hands, because I know he got a teacher, and then, you know, you make photos.
What about Trump's way to, you know, his way of shaking hands with Abe, with Merkel?
Yeah. So body language is interesting when the people you look at are not aware that you look at them. So
what's that?
So when you're an observer from the outside, and those people have no idea that someone is observing them. So the criminal at the corner who is not aware that the police is taking a look at them, then body language is of a high interest. But if you are in a focus, forget body language. The face, you cannot really cheat. So the face is, you know, even actors, they have breaks. When you make a movie, after all the 3-5 minutes, you make a break. And then you repeat the whole thing again. Because you cannot fake the face for too long. Okay. There is no chance that you play a role for longer than, let's say, 3-5 minutes without making a mistake. And if you're aware of the mistakes, it's easy to see the lie or whatever you try to pretend.
So how quick is it to, for example, when someone walks in the room, for example, for me, you would tell something about me in, let's say, 2 to 5 minutes?
Yeah, of course. A lot? You can already tell about someone after 3-5 minutes, but of course, the longer the conversation,
is
the
it
better.
Because of like the basic ones, like, is it first health? Or if she's lying, for example, like you could tell I'm lying or something. Or like health, what could be like the very first?
Well, first of all, it's subconsciously stimulated when you read someone. So maybe you focus on the health of a person or the personality. So I usually get an order. The order is, Eric, I want to know about the talents of this person, or I want to know, is he a liar? Or Eric, how healthy is this person? Or Eric, please tell me, is he a big fake or is he for real?
A trustworthy person.
Yeah, so whatever the order is, I will take a look at first, because there are so many informations that you can receive from a face. So I have to have a kind of a first goal I look for. And if I'm free of that, I'll take what I get. So the first thing you could look at is, for example, the microexpression of a person, because the microexpression is created over the years. I'm going to show you a small example. Kids, when they are in a balance, in a kid balance, I would say, they usually have a microexpression like this, and this is for all over the world.
Yeah.
Because they're happy, they want to know, they want to grab. It's everything is big and colorful. So how comes that a kid who acts like this at the age of, let's say, 3 or 4, becomes a man at the age of 35 who speaks to you like that? Oh, I'm happy that you're here. How comes? The reason is something changed in his life, and whatever changed in his life is stored in the brain. And the brain stimulates via the facial nerves the muscles in your face. And so by looking at someone talking like this, I know what changed here.
Okay.
So this person who's more like aware of everything, yeah, oh, give me more, became this person who then is more calculative. Oh, I want to know a little bit more about this particular field here. So you already see, even without listening to words, you see the micro-expression.
Just the micro-expressions.
Yeah. So you can tune down the volume as well. You just look at the micro-expression and know already about the personality.
And this is based in physiognomy, right? Could you further explain to us what physiognomy
Yeah, so
is?
this is a mix of physiognomy and micro-expression reading. Micro-expression reading became a part of psychology. You can study that already, for example, in Berkeley, but somewhere else, in Liverpool, for example, as well. Physiognomy goes back to the times of the old Greek, Aristotle. And Aristotle was the teacher of Alexander the Great. And he was not only his teacher, he was also his face reader. So Alexander took Aristotle as a counselor. I choose this general, or I choose this one for his wars and everything he did.
Decision making.
Yeah, and the Greek, those days, that was 300 before Christ, almost like Confucius lived, they used Aristotle also as a guidance of the character of people they deal with. And physiognomy is all about the personality of someone and the character. And what this person is about, the talents. While other techniques like facial diagnosis, who goes back?
Yeah, how does that work?
That works like this. So Hippocrates, who lived almost the same time as Aristotle, he was not interested in the character or the personality of people. He was a doctor, so he wanted to know the health. And there was no chance to have blood tests or screening.
Okay.
So the only way to find out what's going on is to feel,
And
even smell, taste. Even.
Taste the sweat.
Exactly. And to look.
Right.
And we know everyone is a face reader. When someone looks sick, we see that. We say, oh, you're okay, you look not good.
That's right.
So the reason is we see signs in the face that are related to health issues. For example, zits, dots, coloration, discoloration, glam, shade.
Wow.
Tissue issues. So what everybody knows is yellowish parts, right? In the sclera, in the white part of the eyes, everybody knows liver issues. Or when someone has dark lines below the eyes, we would say, oh, haven't slept, or boozed last night, or there's a flu. Well, that's true. All in all, it's the loss of a mineral. It's the loss of iron, ferrum, because ferrum is responsible for your immunity system. And when you haven't slept enough, or you boozed, or you have a flu, well, then you have an issue with your immunity.
Right. And I know this is a hard question, but I'm pretty sure you always encounter this question a lot. Is it accurate, like what you do, and based on your clients' accounts, were your predictions accurate? And could you cite some of the stories that you think is very unforgettable and you would like to share with us?
Good. So there are two answers on this. Answer number one is a very easygoing one. It's, I'm doing this for 15 years. If I wouldn't have been accurate, I couldn't do that job for 15 years. Another answer is there is no technique on the planet that is 100% accurate. Show me. So even with face reading, you have to accept that there might be instabilities or faults or whatever. So I would give it a 95.
95.
And I give the 5% to the weakness of the face reader himself, because you're not as good as every day. So you have your
Depends
weak
on your
days
mood,
as well. Yeah,
for
well, it
example.
maybe not the mood, but you're tired maybe, for
Tired.
example.
Okay.
Or you're not focused that day. Or you have a special quest in a face that you've never seen before, and you think, what does that mean? That's a contradiction. Here's another contradiction, right? So you're a counselor, and if you want to give advice, you try to sum up everything that you've seen, and out of what you've seen, an advice might be given. Yeah. So,
unforgettable stories, at least 2 from your clients that you would like to share with us.
a story or two.
A story or two that you would like to share that, you know.
Well, there are funny stories and there are sad stories, right? So maybe a funny story.
Okay.
So one of my clients was a dentist,
Okay.
by the way, in Asia. And he'd been through a long psychotherapy. And because his problem is he got a lot of frustration, depression, melancholy.
Yes.
But there was no reason for that, because he was very, very successful. He made a lot of money, 2 brilliant kids, and his wife is gorgeous. So for him, everything's right. So why is he melancholic? And he said, come on, I give it a try with the face reading. So can you tell me about what's going on here with me? Mm-hmm. And honestly, I had no idea how to start, but I thought to myself, come on, let's read his personality first and his talents. So I looked at his face and I could find out he has no talent for healing and he has no talent for the hands. So talent for the hands means you're practical. And I think for a dentist, that would be pretty good, right?
Yeah.
And healing would be good for a dentist as well. But he had no talents for that. And I said, I think I know why. And he said, why? And I said, I think you work in a profession that you are not made for.
Okay.
And then he said, so why am I so successful in it? And I said, by strong will. You can be successful in any profession if you have a strong will. Mm-hmm. And you made this your profession, although you have no talent for that. Wow. And then he said, why do so many people then come to me? And I said, well, one, blame it on marketing, but I think there's another reason. You entertain a lot. And this is a talent of yours. I would go to a dentist who's entertaining me. Mm-hmm. And you're a good entertainer. Yeah. And he said, so, what else is my talent? And I said, this is very strange because you have the talent of the numbers. And having the talent of the numbers makes you a good mathematic guy or a gambler. So you play with numbers. And he said, that's interesting. And this is why I tell you the story. This is the reason why I come to Macau so often. Because I like to gamble and I like the entertainment part. And funny enough, this is the only day when I'm not depressed or frustrated, because it looks like I'm born for that. Wow. And then he asked me, so what is your advice? Do you think I should be a professional poker player? And I said, no, because you love it too much. But no. I would recommend you to still go on like that as a hobby. But maybe you reduce your time working as a dentist because you're already successful. You can hire other dentists to do the job and be more a host at home. Invite people to your place because you like to entertain. They will give you love. They will give you respect. They love to be around you, and you will get a lot of energy back. And that will take away the depression. That was my advice. He took it and had a lot of fun with it.
Wow.
So this is how it can work, for example.
It's amazing. What's your message to those people who are skeptical of what you do?
15 years ago, I was like, come on, give me a chance, let me show you. I tried to be even stronger with my arguments. Nowadays, it's like, well, you're not up to date. Go on Google, go on and check, and you will see that university takes care of that for the last 2-3 years. And not to be aware of the face is ignoring what is very human.
Right. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.